Hello all of you. Welcome to this class on easy cockpits. I hope you followed my earlier two lessons on easy cockpit, which was just an introduction. And the subject is not complete without this lesson. The reason being, uh, the peculiarity of a easy cockpit is all about its interactivity. That means the pilot is able to interact with the system directly by using the cursor pointing to the place whatever he wants to amend or utilize, and then clicks and the desired change is effected. So there are several ways, there are several methods to interact with the system. So we will be going through these graphical interface points. It's almost like interacting with a computer system. So you will find this interesting. Of course, one gets used to this interactive procedures over a period of time. But for a beginner, it's a very useful tool to understand because in times of great necessity, such as emergency situations, you are able to get to the page or get to the interactive requirement immediately if you have learnt it formally. It's for that reason this lesson, and it's not going to be a very big lesson. Right. There are several graphical interface elements in an easy cockpit. The graphical interface is composed of several graphical objects and have different properties and functions. They behave in a variety of ways depending on what the need of the information flow. All these objects are either accessed with the cursor control device. That means you use the trackball to place the cursor and then select. And the actions can be performed also by the multifunction keyboard, which I have briefly talked about and we will be talking about in great depth in future. And let me recall that these multifunction keyboards have several shortcuts and normal methods of input as well. So these are the methods by which you will interact with the aircraft system and the graphical interface elements for the conduct of the flight. Let's go through these elements one by one. Firstly, the radio button. You are all familiar, you have been used to this concept in computers. This is a very similar thing. This allows the pilot to choose between the proposed items. There is always one item selected, but only one item can be selected at a time. That's the property of any radio button display and selection. As you can see, there's a cyan highlighted square, and then as you place the cursor, any one option can be selected. Next is the checkbox. This denotes a function which can be activated or deactivated. Of course, several items can be selected at the same time as they are independent. The third is the soft key, in which action displayed on the soft key can be performed by clicking on this object. That means in this particular case it is insert. So you are going to insert a value. Maybe you are inserting the cargo load or the number of passengers, whatever it could be. There are several items and parameters which are given input. So these could be directly inserted inside the aircraft system by placing the cursor at the appropriate point. Now the tabs. This is what you will be coming across in most of the menu items. This present themselves as horizontal menu items, like you are used to it in any computer. So placing the cursor over that particular option will, and clicking it will open the respective sub page. Now in this figure, the present option is in fuel page. Now the cursor is placed over the electrical page. Now when the pilot clicks over this, the activate tab will turn into green, and the electrical page is displayed. Next is the compute with a gray background. This denotes a function which cannot be activated with the existing conditions. That means either the pilot has not fed the full needed information, or nothing has changed from the earlier fed information. So in both the cases, it will still have a gray background with this compute words. It's like a command button. Whereas the same, if the pilot made any modifications, let's say winds, surface winds, you had inserted some surface winds as you prepared the cockpit. Now as you reach the takeoff point, the surface winds changed. Now you change the surface winds in that particular window. Now this gray compute will change its color to cyan compute, indicating that now the pilot has to press for the computer of the aircraft to compute the revised parameters once again. That's what this means. So these are the soft keys and some of the interactive elements. Okay, some more interesting elements, or some more interesting features. The one which I have shown here, which I already covered earlier, so I'll skip it. And next is this VHF, I'm sorry, the pull down menu. Pull down menu, you can select one of the menus out of the few presented menu. An arrow is displayed on the soft key, which will indicate to you that a menu can be displayed. A pull down menu can be displayed, and one of the main menu item can be selected by clicking on the chosen item. Next is a very interesting, very good feature I found, is the pop-up menu. Now these pop-up menus are not visible under normal circumstances, but when the pilot in an appropriate time, when he presses the select button, the corresponding pop-up menu would appear, and giving him several options to the pilot. It will automatically disappear when the selection is done. Now in this case, on the main iNav map menu, when the pilot places the cursor on any place on the iNav map or over a point. Now in this case, VOR called Delta India Alpha will be highlighted, and when he presses the select button, the several options such as center the map, direct to, amend route, delete waypoint, etc., will be presented to the pilot. This is a very interesting feature, especially in terminal environments where lots of changes are taking place, and you will find as you go that it's so flexible, so much useful, especially for tuning nav aids and tuning, knowing the holding patterns, etc. This is a very useful feature. Of course, other provisions are also useful, but this I found is a fairly useful uh, procedure, fairly useful element, but not very easily used by several pilots. Okay, uh, the next elements which are shown, not very complicated, very simple elements. We'll go through them. One is information box. Uh, there is a soft key which is provided on a screen, and pressing that will give a information box. For example, in the fuel system, there is a soft key which is indicated next to the fuel tank, which is indicating the total fuel contents. But when you press on the soft key, the breakdown of individual tank contents will be displayed, giving information to the pilot as to which tank contains how much fuel. The next is the scrolling list. It displays a list of files or objects from a database. The list can be scrolled up and down to display all the information it comprises. In this case, all the stored routes are being displayed, and during a pre-flight, the pilot can select a particular route, and then your cockpit readiness is achieved very, very quickly. Next is procedures scrolling list. Again, this is similar to earlier discussed scrolling list, but with a slight difference. Here there is a button in which the pilot would select. So displays a list of objects from a database. Selecting one item will usually display the associated list to choose from. That now here 08 right, or my correction, 09 left. Let's say if the pilot uses 09 left, now all the departure procedures, arrival procedures, the procedures associated with 09 left would be indicated to the pilot, from which he can once again select. That is, it's a one level upper to the scrolling list which we discussed earlier. Of course, these are all data supplied by the service provider, and which is updated every 28 days. So these are all nav and other databases which are, as I told you, supplied by a nav service provider. Let's move on. As experienced pilots, you will understand that there is constant need for the pilot to keep giving sometimes data inputs depending on the current change and current existing conditions. So there are several ways to enter these or amend these data fields. This could be supplied by several ways. That means either the system itself can present a figure which from different sensors have been derived, or the pilot can update the latest figure as he thinks, if he thinks that that's would be more useful. As I explained to you, there are several methods to input or input data. First is using the cursor control device, placing it, highlighting it, and then amending it, and then selecting it, or using the multifunction keyboard, either entering the data directly. Not only that, it can be used to clear and delete data as well. That means if you fed the incorrect data, you can delete it also, and then the once again re-enter or accept what is presented by the aircraft. Let's see some of these elements. First is the cruise wind, as you can see with the cyan dashes. It allows entry or modification of an allows and modification of an alphanumeric string. Flight plan name allows entry modification of an alphabetic string. And cargo, as you can see, not initialized. Mandatory entry allows entry or modification of a numeric string. Next is the landing weight. The pilot can modify this particular entry. And similarly, OAT is amber data represents the pilot modified the entry which does not correspond to the data calculated by the system. There is a major difference. It is advising the pilot to recheck if he has to continue with this particular entry. Some more data field entry methods. That the first one, the arrow means that the entry is currently being set with the CC cursor control device data set knob. The cursor is not stuck in the field and no action is required to validate the entry. That's what the one which is shown in the init cruise altitude entry. That's what is the indication. The next one, cargo, it means the entry is currently being set with the multifunction keyboard keypad. The cursor is stuck in the field and cannot exit until the entry has been validated by either pressing an enter or flicking away the cursor. That's what this kind of display would mean. That means you see the round arrow is not there. That's the difference between the previous picture and this particular graphic picture. The last one is initial cruise altitude. This entry is invalid. Sometimes this aircraft rejects some ridiculous figures and to a certain limit. So in this case, some 75,000 has been fed. Obviously, it's an invalid entry. So the system is not going to accept this particular entry. So the display changes the complete cyan, and which means that this is not an acceptable entry. The data automatically reverts to the previous value which has been set. Now let me take you through some color codes which are used in the cockpit. These are all very standard ones which you are already used to. Nevertheless, I will go through them for the completeness of the lesson. These color codes apply to all displays, readouts, lighted push buttons, all labeling and placards when located in the flight deck. The color code aims to alert the crew of conditions requiring either attention or immediate action. It helps the crew in their operations as the color code makes them obvious as to what input is possible or not and puts forward information in abnormal situations. We will go through them, some of them which you would already be very familiar. First color code which every pilot is aware is the red color code, which tells the pilot that he needs to attend to the situation immediately, or the system demands pilot's attention immediately. Normally, they will be associated with oral warnings as well. In this picture, I have shown a master warning for any situation in the cockpit, engine fire or any other oil or by several conditions which require immediate attention of the pilot. There is one master warning on the or center top instrument pedestal, so which will alert the crew that he needs to attend to the situation immediately. Also here there is an issue with battery 1 which needs pilot's attention immediately. So red color is for danger and immediate attention requiring situations. Now the amber color, it may not require immediate action on the part of the pilot, but nevertheless he needs to be aware of the situation immediately, but he has got some time to analyze and take action uh, to deal with an issue. Of course, it is associated with the master caution caution lamp, which is which is located next to the master warning, and which is amber in color. In this example, we have shown low fuel 2. That means the fuel level on number 2 side tank has dropped below a certain level. That's what here it means. There is no alarm, but as long as the pilot is going to execute a landing within few minutes, it's okay. That's what it means. Let us discuss some color codings which are used in the automation status, which I feel that this is fairly important for the pilot to understand right from the word go. The three colors which I will discuss are the magenta, cyan, and the white. The magenta represents the active target. That means what the system is aiming for just now. That's what is the magenta. That means if it is following a particular track, it will show it in magenta. Uh, Next is cyan. Cyan color corresponds to what is about to happen. As such, it means the armed mode and pending modification and what the system will do next. That's what is cyan. White, of course, defines an inactive target. In this picture, the localizer 2 has been armed. That means the autopilot has not captured uh, the localizer 8, but pilot has armed it so that when it comes within the deviation, it is going to capture. That's what is this picture will mean. Or sometimes if there is a status in which the system is waiting to accept input, that also is presented in cyan color. White, of course, is inactive mode. The last two color codes which you are already familiar is the cyan and the green color. Cyan is the automation status. Uh, in fact, both are same. Cyan depicts a status where the system is in the armed mode. That means it is waiting for the autopilot to to satisfy a set of conditions so that it can capture or something like that. And similarly, green is the current status of the aircraft. That is the captured, after having captured. That's what is the green will indicate. So this was a fairly simple lesson and a very self-explanatory lesson. Uh, for most of the experienced pilots, this is not very difficult to grasp. But however, for some young, fresh pilots, probably converting on to the easy cockpit, it's a big aircraft which they are ever converting for the first time. I thought this information is going to be very useful. In fact, similar color codes can be expected in almost all the modern aircraft. I hope you enjoyed attending this class, and if you have not understood some particular uh, portion, I will advise you not to worry about it, because these are all so practical that and we use it so often that you are going to grasp it within the first 2-3 flights. However, sometimes some situations may demand this particular color codes, knowledge, and all that. It's for that reason I didn't want to leave that to chance. So I thought it must be completed. So it's going to help someone in some tricky situation. So once again, I will request you all to feel free to give your comments on the email ID given below. Thank you.